From the land of Grant University in Urbana-Champaign, Illinois, this is the Closing Market Report. It's the 15th day of January 2025. I'm University of Illinois Extension's Todd Gleason. Coming up, we'll talk about the commodity markets with Greg Johnson. He's at TGM, that's Total Grain Marketing, the FS elevator located in Champaign County. And we'll hear from Drew Lerner at World Weather Incorporated in Kansas City. Along the way, I'll remind you to visit our website. The address is willag.org, and to look into the calendar for tomorrow's kickoff event for 6 weeks worth of webinars, 1 hour long on Thursday mornings at 11 a.m. Central Time from the FarmDoc team. This is the IFAS series updated, the Illinois Farm Economics Summits. If you missed the series in December or you just want to be updated, this is a great place to get started. You can register using our calendar at willag.org. Look for the event on Thursdays at 11 o'clock. Open that up, click on more details, and there'll be a hot link for the registration. Once you're registered for all 6. And I look forward to seeing you on Thursdays at 11 a.m. for the webinars each week for the next 6 weeks.
Todd Gleason services are made available to WILL by University of Illinois Extension.
March corn for the day settled at $4.78 3/4. It was up 4 1/4. The May 4.88, 3 1/4 higher, and December futures at 4.57, 1/4 cent higher. March soybeans 10.42 3/4, down 4 3/4. The May off 6 cents at 10.55 1/4, and November at $10.39 1/4, down 10 1/4 cents. Bean meal futures down $3.80. The bean oil a nickel higher, and soft red winter wheat 3/4 cent higher at 5.47. The hard red at 5.57 1/2, down 3 1/4. Greg Johnson now joins us from TGM, that's Total Grain Marketing, the FS-owned elevator here in Champaign County. Hi, Greg. Hello to you. Thanks for being with us for the day.
It's good to be with you, Todd.
Let's talk a little bit about basis post-USDA report. Some of our analysts on Market to Market, the Iowa Public Television program that aired on Sunday on WILL TV Channel 12, Matt Bennett, in fact, was talking about basis probably going to break after these USDA reports showing a really, kind of friendly to bullish set of numbers, because in his terms, I believe he said that the end users were just bought up. So the question then for you is, was he right? Did basis break?
It certainly did in both cases, but corn especially. We've had probably a 40 to 50 cent rally in futures prices here in the last couple of months. And even since the report came out, we've had a 25 cent rally in futures. So that rally has incentivized farmers to make sales, reward the rally, which, that's what we encourage them to do. And that's what they did. Unfortunately, if everybody sells at the same time, the market doesn't need all that corn in any one particular week or month. So the purpose of the market is to try to encourage elevators and farmers to hang on to that corn. And the easiest way to do that is think about it in the fall. Farmers would love to haul it all in the fall, but we just don't need it all in the fall. So basis gets wide in the fall. As soon as harvest gets over, basis starts improving, and that's exactly what happened this year again. And that's kind of what happened last week with the run up in the prices. The basis dropped probably 5 to 10 cents in beans, and it dropped 10 cents in corn. And it's still a good price. It's still a good cash price, but the market just couldn't digest all that corn coming onto the market at one time. So they tried to disincentivize farmers from and commercials from moving all that corn at the same time. So now that the market has calmed down a little bit, the basis has not snapped back yet, but over time, I would anticipate the basis to get better, but not right away. We've got to digest all the corn that has moved in the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Well, we'll pat Matt on the back today, because he did say he thought it would be about half of the gains in the futures as well in his commentary on Market to Market. We won't tell him that tomorrow. We'll just go with today. So now, Farmers were making sales of corn. Did they sell soybeans as well? I take it they did.
They did, not to the same extent that they did with corn, but they did sell beans. I think they had done a better job of selling beans, or a better job. They had sold a bigger percentage of beans prior to the report than they had on corn, and so there weren't as many beans to move because they had already sold a bigger percentage of beans prior to the report. But no, they took advantage of that. Both old crop and new crop. We're starting to see some sales made on beans. Cash price got over $10 at most places for both old crop and new crop beans, and farmers are certainly rewarding that. It's not a great price, but with all the uncertainty over potential trade wars and tariffs and this, that, and the other, $10 beans may not be a bad price when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I was thinking that the $10 beans would be good. That 50-cent move against me after that last sale probably hurt just a little bit. I won't be the only one in that boat, but I was making a hedge on, hey, is it going to go higher? It says, yeah, probably it is, but it may very well go lower as well. So the question then is, how long can we stay at these levels because of the change in the numbers from USDA? I mean, ending stocks were changed for both corn and soybeans.
Yes, and let's talk about corn first. I mean, taking the carryout from 1.7 to 1.5 is very supportive. I mean, we need 92.5 million acres of corn to get planted this spring here in the U.S. so that we can have, with a normal yield, to have a 15.2 billion bushel supply. That's about what the demand is 15.2. So the market needs to make sure that we get 92.5 million acres or more planted. And the best way to do that is to keep the price up. So I think the corn price will be very supportive between now and the end of March until we see how many acres of corn we actually do in fact plant. Now, if we plant way more than that, 94, 95 million acres, then obviously we'll be due for a sell-off. But between now and then, I think the market wants to make sure that we get at least 92.5 million acres of corn planted. So, that USDA report tightening up the old crop carryout by 200 million bushels certainly is going to be supported for the next couple of months.
How much of a drag, if at all, will the price of soybeans be as the harvest comes in from Brazil?
It probably will drag a little bit, but then we need to talk about the funds. I mean, the funds have gone from short 1.5 billion bushels of corn to long 1.5 billion bushels of corn. That's with a B. That's a 3 billion bushel purchase, and they've been short soybeans, it seems like forever, until this week, where they finally now are net long. Not a lot, but they've eliminated that short bean position. I don't know that they'll want to go real long. But at least that selling pressure seems to be off the bean market at this point now that they've gotten back to even. So maybe a little bit of a drag, but not a big drag, I would say.
So I wonder, 45Z not finished up. This is the piece that has to do with GREET, sustainable aviation fuel, biofuels in general, that the Biden administration has left details to for the Trump administration. Do you suppose that the aviation industry, along with the oil industry and agriculture, all pushing together for the same thing, might be the reason that the funds are interested in owning vegetable oils and soybeans?
I suppose there's that chance. I mean, that is a big unknown. I mean, I've read articles and listened to different people, and I think you hit it right on the head. I think the Biden administration is kicking the can down the road, and so now everybody's got their Ouija boards and crystal balls out trying to foresee what the Trump administration will do. And I don't know that we have a clear picture of that, but obviously that could move the market, one way or the other, depending on the outcome of their decision.
Yeah, I've used the Ouija board on that before, and it never works very well. So. All right. So when farmers call now, what are they most often asking you today?
Well, the trend is their friend. So with the markets going up, they want to know how much higher it's going to go. And of course, we went through some of the friendly supportive factors here between now and the end of March, but I also make sure to let them know that there's another question that to be asked. Not only is how high can markets go, but how low can they go? If in fact we do have a trade war, if in fact Brazil, which grows about 3 times as many beans as Argentina, more than offsets the the short crop in Argentina, if that in fact turns out to be the case. We may have enough beans, more than enough beans. The carryout is tight, but it's not extremely tight, and 172 million metric ton crop out of Brazil will go a long way towards increasing that world supply. So, farmers are asking how high can markets go, especially if the funds continue to add to their length. And that's a good, valid question. But just keep in mind, another question to ask is how low can prices go to if things are kind of normal as far as Brazilian weather and then U.S. weather this coming spring and summer.
Are you giving them a good answer?
I think I like to do percentages. I don't like to put all my eggs in one basket. I think we hit some targets that we can make that first 20% sale on corn, and on beans. I think we've gotten high enough that we can make two sales. We can be up to 40% sold on new crop beans, and then we can kind of wait and see. But I think the prices are good enough that we can reward this rally and make our first sale of corn and make a second sale of beans.
Interesting. You're not going to wait and see what the February number looks like for crop insurance.
I'm leading off a little bit, but I think we'll be okay. I mean, these are profitable levels. We haven't seen them in some time. We've had a dollar rally in the cash price of corn. We've had a dollar rally in the cash price of beans, and I just think that needs to be rewarded.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Todd.
That's Greg Johnson. He is with TGM. That's Total Grain Marketing. He's at the elevator owned by FS here in Champaign County. Hey, do visit our website at willag.org. That's WILLAG.org. There you'll find daily information from our agricultural programming here at Illinois Public Media, along with University of Illinois Extension, content from the Ag Economist, the Crop Scientist, and the Animal Scientist, a way to listen to older programs. That's under the podcast tab and the USDA reports, including some that are not USDA. The CONAB numbers are there as well, all at willag.org. In the calendar of events, you'll find tomorrow an IFAS series webinar. You can register for that. Joe Jansen kicks off 6 weeks with the Ag Economist, 1 hour long webinars. I'll be there for each of them going forward. The Ag Economist on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Check out the webinars in our calendar of events at willag.org. Let's turn our attention now to the weather forecast. Drew Lerner is here from World Weather Incorporated in Kansas City. I woke up to frigid conditions here. I suppose you're cold in Kansas City, too?
Yeah, it's not. I'm getting used to it, though, by now. We've had a lot of that off and on here recently. And the foot of snow we got a week or so ago was icing on the cake.
Indeed it was. We'll talk more about weather here in the United States in a moment, but turn your attention to South America. We need to continue to discuss conditions in Argentina and the changing forecast there. What can you tell me about it?
Yeah, Argentina is about to have a little bit of a litmus test, at least in regard to model forecasting. The way it stands right now, there's supposed to begin to be some scattered showers and thunderstorms occurring across Argentina starting tonight and occurring into Saturday. This first round of precipitation is already being hotly debated in the model data, where the American model is suggesting mostly a very light amount of precipitation, maybe a couple tenths to maybe 6 or 7 tenths of an inch with a pocket or two of 1 inch amounts. The European model, though, is of the opinion that we might see more generalized 4/10 of an inch to 1.5 inch rains with some local amounts to 2 inches. So I think that watching these two models and seeing which one verifies is going to have a lot to say about the next rain event, which is expected about a week later, towards the end of next week. My personal opinion here is that we will see good distribution of rain in Argentina in this first event, and it will bring some relief, but it's not going to be a soaking. There will be some pockets that get good rain, but most of the region is going to be in need of much more moisture. We'll go back to dry and warm conditions Sunday all the way through Thursday of next week, and then we'll bring on the next opportunity for rain. I do not see a lot of excessive heat, though, in the interim. I think it will be hot today and tomorrow, and then I think after that we'll be a little bit closer to normal for a while. And so the crop is still hanging in there by a thread. The topsoil moisture is very short now. Some subsoil moisture is marginally adequate to short. This rain this weekend is going to be really important, but the one that comes the following week will be all the more important. And lastly, on that subject matter, there is La Nina, of course, involved right now. And according to the latest data from the Climate Prediction Center, a rather aggressive Madden-Julian oscillation event developing now over Africa and moving to the Indian Ocean may allow for La Nina to intensify a little bit more as we get into the last days of January and the first week to 10 days in February. And that could bring back a little more notable heat and dryness in Argentina and neighboring areas of Brazil and Uruguay and Paraguay. So that makes next week's rain all the more important.
Gathering all that information together, analysts and traders will be weighing out the size of the crop in Argentina and whether it can be offset by the output from Brazil and the soybean crop, particularly there. It's been in good condition. Will it stay in good condition?
Yes, Brazil is going to have a tremendous crop, the way I see it. The only issue that Brazil is faced with, of course, is whether or not they can get the crop harvested quickly enough for the safrinha corn. But from a soybean perspective, we're a little dry right now in southern Brazil, not critically, but we're going to get a little bit of rain out of this weekend event. We're going to get some more next week. So the southern parts of Brazil are going to stay in pretty darn good shape, and everybody else is going to have plenty, if not a little excessive moisture. So there's no way that they're going to come up short because of dryness. And as long as they can get some drier weather to occur in the next couple of weeks so that early crop can be harvested, I really don't think there's going to be much standing in the way. So I fully do expect big crops out of Brazil.
Here in the United States, it's cold. What will the end of the month of January look like from your perspective?
Yeah, I mentioned that Madden-Julian event coming out of Africa and moving to Indian Ocean. Typically, when we get a robust MJO event to come into the Indian Ocean at this time of the year, it does tend to help build a ridge of high pressure over eastern North America. And that, if it occurs, should bring back warmer than normal conditions for a big part of the Midwest, the eastern part of Canada, maybe even the northeastern U.S. This would occur in the last days of January into the first part of February. It would be a temporary event. It would eventually be followed by a return of colder weather, but that would probably be late in the first week of February or even in the second week. So a little reprieve coming up. And as far as precipitation is concerned, once that ridge and warmth gets re-established in the eastern part of North America, when we get ready to transition from that pattern back into the cold, we'll probably have another large storm or two come through the heart of the country, impacting probably the Midwest more than the plains. But that's the big picture outlook right now.
Speaking of the plains, cold weather, as you suggested, potentially. Do they have snow cover there that will protect some of that hard red winter wheat region?
Believe it or not, Nebraska and most of western Kansas, eastern Colorado, and points southward are snow-free today. And this morning's cold that you mentioned before really didn't impact those areas. But the cold surge coming up as we go forward into the weekend and early next week will impact those areas, and sub-zero temperatures are expected. So it is important that we put snow on the ground. And the way it looks right now, Nebraska may come up empty-handed, and that some of the wheat there might be a little bit more exposed and vulnerable to some issues because of the cold. Kansas, western Kansas, and eastern Colorado, though, will see some upslope snowfall as the cold comes in, and that should be sufficient to protect the crops. Now, one other statement needs to be made, and that is we have been seeing periods of cold in these past few weeks. So the wheat crop is really well hardened at this point and will most likely be able to handle temperatures a little bit below zero, even without the snow, I would think. It would have to be a real punishing event, I think, to really cause a permanent loss there. And at the moment, I just don't see the core of the coldest air getting into that region, regardless of whether there's snow or not.
And finally, as the Trump administration comes into office, I'm reminded of the tariff situation that took place during the first administration, and thinking we should probably check in on what conditions, while it's wintertime, are like in China and what that might mean for their crops going forward. Are there concerns there?
There have not been many concerns up to this point in time. Their wheat and rapeseed were put into the ground in really just about ideal conditions, and the crops turned dormant like they should normally, and really everything's been fairly good up until now. But we have had a limited amount of moisture fall over the past few weeks. The southeastern half to two-thirds of China has reported way below normal precipitation in the last 30 days. Now, normal in some of the northern half of the country is not very much moisture, so that's a little misleading. So you have to be careful with that. But it has been warm enough to keep evaporation rates moderately significant in the south, and the ground is drying out. And much of the rapeseed area in the Yangtze River Basin has become a little too dry, and even drier still in some of the early rice planting areas in the southern coastal provinces. Now, La Nina tends to leave the southeastern one-third of China in a below normal precipitation bias. So there's a fairly good chance that we're going to hear more about this over the next few weeks. For right now, there's not much interest in moisture for the rapeseed crop, but when we get into mid-February and beyond, the demand for moisture will be on the rise. So it'll be very important 30 days from now that we start seeing better rains fall in that region.
I'm sure we'll check in with you then to see how that goes. Thanks much for the day's forecast. I appreciate it.
You betcha. Have a great day.
You too. That's Drew Lerner. He's with World Weather Incorporated in Kansas City. Joined us on this Wednesday edition of the Closing Market Report that comes to you from Illinois Public Media. And we'll remind you to visit our website at willag.org and look into the calendar. If you click on tomorrow's FarmDoc webinar, IFAS series online. That'll be in red there in the calendar. If you click on it, you'll find a link, and if you click on that again, it'll turn hot to tomorrow's webinar series. In fact, the whole series of the Illinois Farm Economic Summits. Tomorrow, Joe Jansen will start that series. It's 6 weeks in a row with a grain market outlook at 11 a.m. Central Time. I'll be there hosting that program. We'll talk with Joe about corn, soybeans, wheat, and price prospects for 2025. This will be updated information, including, of course, all of the USDA reports that were released on Friday of last week and the crop production budgets that the team released this week. You want to make sure that you get registered. Do it right now. You can do it online at farmdocdaily.illinois.edu or through our website at willag.org. Again, click the calendar event in red for tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. for the webinar, the IFAS series online. If you click that again, you'll get that hot link there, and you'll be able to register for the whole of the series. I'm University of Illinois Extension's Todd Gleason.